Hi, everybody. This is Deanna Kosaraju, founder of Global Tech Women, and welcome to Voices 2015. This is version 3.0 of the Conference for Women in Tech around the world. We're virtual and we provide the resources, community, and inspiring role models that are going to help you achieve what your definition of success is. So, we are now on session number 2, which is the art of strategic networking with Susan Lucas-Conwell. She is the CEO, Innovation Catalyst, Game Changer at Growth Resources, Inc. And she's going to help us get through the kind of perils, but also possibilities of strategic networking, how we can take advantage of networking time with little time to spare. So this should be a very interesting talk. A couple things I want you to know. You have to be logged into Spreecast in order to take advantage of the chat window that's over there on the right-hand side. So if you can, log into Spreecast and then you will be able to chat. This is an opportunity for you to network while we're talking about the art of strategic networking. So introduce yourself in the chat window. Let us know where you're from. We have women from around the globe participating in the session today, as we did in the previous session. Also, lastly, we are going to have a slide deck, and it's going to come up in about a minute. And when it does, you need to drag and drop it somewhere on the screen where it's not going to interfere with you watching Susan and the chat window. So just drag it in someplace convenient. And you're also going to have to follow along, and that will keep you awake. So Susan's going to let us know what slide number she's on, so that way we can follow along with her and learn about the art of strategic networking. So with that, if anyone has any questions, send me a chat. I'm happy to help you through any issues with connections or questions you might have. Send them my way. You can send me a private chat up there on the top. You can just click my name and send me a private chat, or you can send it via the chat window and I'll answer it. So with that, Susan, it is all yours. Let me know when you want me to put that deck up.
Why don't we put the deck up now, Dina? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me put it up and then I'll go away.
That's great. In fact, she's not really going to go away. She's going to be with us the whole time. And I'm delighted to see all of you.
Yeah,
I'm particularly pleased. We are on slide 1. And I'm going to play around with this just a little bit since my technology skills are a little less good than everybody else's. I'm sitting here in kind of sunny Palo Alto this morning. So welcome to everyone on a day where we've changed times here in Palo Alto. I have spent most of my career in France, and then I moved to Palo Alto 10 years ago. I have been running companies for the past 15 years, my own companies, and I have a vested interest in the art of strategic networking because it is one of the skills that has helped me throughout my career. So we're on slide 1, and I'll tell you every time we change. First, let me just tell you how I define networking, which is the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. Let's go to slide 2. And now for those of you who are American, you'll understand why I call this the Dorothy approach. And if you're not American and you don't know the reference to the Wizard of Oz, which we are looking at, for me, the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy is the greatest success story there is in the history of networking. Her house flew off the planet Earth from her home in Kansas. She landed in the middle of a foreign land where she didn't know anyone, and all she had was Toto, her faithful dog, who you see out there in the slide. With helpful networking, with the notion of paying it forward, helping the Munchkins, helping the Scarecrow, helping a lion, she made it all the way back home to Kansas in the blink of an eye. If you've never seen the movie, I'd highly recommend it. Most Americans have seen it at least 150 times. There's another reference, and I'm moving to slide 3, that is important to me in my life and is important as a metaphor for how we live our lives. So this is a photo of rowers, and the first rower in this boat with a number on her chest is actually my oldest daughter. Why are we talking about sports when I'm talking about strategic networking? Because the more you practice, the better you become. And what's cool about rowing is that it is multidimensional, multi-directional. It takes, like many sports, dedication, practice, technique, and it takes what we call synchronicity. It means that if you don't row together in the boat, you don't win. There is no rugged individual rower. It's a team sport. And networking is a team sport too. You have to commit to each other, commit to the bow ball and the finish line, or you lose. Let's move to slide 4. Slide 4 indicates the different steps in strategic networking. It's really important to take strategic networking seriously. This isn't just about having coffee with your best friends. So I think I'm with my best friends today and I'm having my coffee. It's about the brand, it's about the message, it's about the markets, and it's about the implementation. Yeah, it's kind of hard work. Let's go to slide 5. So when I talk about the brand, I'm not talking about your company. I'm not talking about Coca-Cola. I'm talking about your brand, and that is the brand. So this is an exercise that is about thinking about your inner self, about the self you need to project, about your values and your strengths, strengths as an entrepreneur, or strengths as somebody working in a company, or as a student. So think about who you are and what that value is. You know, we say often, if you don't know what your goal is, you can't get there. If you don't reach for the moon, you'll never hit any stars. You need to know what it is that you want. So, what is your ambition? Where do you want to go? And what's your timeline? How quickly? How long is it going to take you? What's important to you? What are your priorities? Are there multiple priorities? When you say you want to network and you're thinking about networking, what is it that you want to achieve? You absolutely need to know where you're going, and to do that, you need to know who you are. Let's go to slide 6. Let's not forget about the part in promoting and managing your brand that includes paying it forward. And this is something that I have held dear to me my whole life, in my career, and in my personal life. While we talk about you a lot and your brand is also about what you give to others, because networking is a network. It's not just yourself, it's where you're going, it's where you want to go, and how you're going to help others along the way. Remember my story about Dorothy and Toto, her dog? She helped the scarecrow, she helped the lion, and that's how she got home to Kansas in the blink of an eye. So this is also about what you can do for others, because they will help you get where you want to go. Let's go to slide 7. And by the way, as we move through this, I'm going to save time so that we can chat at the end of this presentation. And if at any time in the coming days, or hopefully not the coming hours because you'll be screencasting to the max today, feel free to reach out to me either through Dino or at slc@gri.co, which you can see on the slides. So the next slide is about your message. Presumably you've thought about who you are, where you're going. The fact that networking is a network effect sounds stupid, but it isn't just about broadcasting. It's about that holistic circle. So what that message and what that pitch is going to look like is really important. There's form and there's function. It's about the what, what's the content. It's about the when. It's about the how. It's about the where. And it's about the who. Let's go to slide 8. Slide 8 is about aligning your markets. And we're going to talk about those in a second. You may or may not have heard about a book that came out on networking intelligence that Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, and Chris Ye, a well-known startup entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, wrote recently. They talk about network intelligence. They talk about reaching out to the smartest people they know to get their message to the right person or market. I'm going to give you my take on that story, which is that I'm not a very smart person. I might be a fun person, and sometimes I'm funny, and sometimes I make weird expressions, as you can see. So I'm not as convinced about smart and about IQ. I think what's really important is people who have people IQ and who are going to align where they're going with where they need to go and help the market help them get where they need to go. I'm going to stop and pause here because as we start this adventure together, we have to start with a clean slate. So here's the nasty part. I don't know what kind of address book or contact or database you use. Hopefully, you've moved out of those gorgeous little leather address books. Otherwise, it's going to be a little hard and you're going to need a large bottle of whiteout to do this exercise. But this is the cleanup part. We're going to talk about categories of people, their functions, and their roles. And those categories are important to you because this is going to become your database. You now, when we come off Spreecast and you've absorbed the entire day of global tech women, you're going to go through your database. And aside from friends or family, that aunt you haven't spoken to in 5 years, you are going to go through and radically and mercilessly get rid of everyone in there who you've saved because you think sometime in the next 100 years you actually might talk to or reach out to. And if you haven't contacted them in 6 months, out. Out. I know it sounds cruel. If you feel that for historical purposes, for your personal foundation, you need to put them into a different address book, do so. If not, they're gone. They're not part of your network. And going forward, when you collect cards, business cards, if in 48 hours you haven't done something with that card, you haven't written on the card that that person was the woman who had red hair wearing a green dress and you promised to connect her to your dog walker, or you promised to connect her to someone you know, Uber, throw the card away. Yeah, throw the card away. And if in 10 days you haven't been quite that radical, you throw that card away. And as you go through your address book, not only do you get rid of people who you haven't reached out to or who haven't reached out to you in 6 months, but if you can't remember who they are absolutely out. So as we move on to the next slide, which is slide 9, where we're going to talk about the different markets, hopefully you already have ingrained in you, I have to clean up. I have to start with a good base, because otherwise I'm just collecting garbage. So when we talk about markets, and I'm talking now about people more than I am about groups, there are different roles that people play in their lives. And when I give talks, particularly talks to women who are in the beginning or the middle of their careers, or who are in corporate roles, or even in mid-sized company roles, it's really confusing. You look at articles that say, I need a mentor. Oh, maybe I need an advisor. Every third Wednesday, I should have a sponsor. And what the hell is an advocate? So I'd like to just pause for a second and walk through what these roles are. Because people in our lives, in our professional lives, do play different roles. And those people are really important. We have to believe in you. They have to trust you. Because after all, if you were a rower, would you jump into your skinny spandex, jump into a boat, and give them everything you've got? And would they do the same for you? These are those people. Mentors are people in your organization who guide you through the unwritten rules and who help you define your goals. They can also be a sounding board, and in general, what they tell you is confidential. Advisors are generally outside your organization, and they are your trusted feedback. They'll provide the mirror for you. They'll tell you what's happening and what's not happening. They will help you from an external perspective. A sponsor is in your organization as high up as you can go. Someone who knows you and values you, and who's going to actively open up opportunities and advocate for you, even take risks for you. And lastly is the advocate. An advocate is your cheerleader. Usually they're in your organization. Sometimes they're out. They're going to be singing your praises, walking into the next village and saying, oh, look, Dina's coming along and she's so fantastic. She's organized the best conference in the world. These roles are really important to understand because as you think about your network and how you've structured it and the people you've kept in your address book, which you have now radically cleaned out, you want to know what category the people you left in your address book fall into. We're also going to talk about functions. The first is this part about roles. I'm going to move on to slide 10 about functions. So we all play different functions. We have different ways that we can be active for different people. And in these, they can come from different places. This is important because when we look through our address book, and probably as we're talking now and you're listening, you're thinking, oh my God, this is so much work. I thought that it was good enough just to sign up for that cocktail party on Wednesday night and get my act cleaned up and go to that cocktail party. No, it is not good enough. And by the way, that cocktail party you're thinking of going to, or that networking event, or that hackathon, or maybe you're not really feeling bold and you just thought you'd lightly step into a meetup somewhere. I didn't mention a couple of rules about that. Cardinal rule is don't go with a friend. Yeah, don't go with a friend. If you do go with a friend, if you don't listen, you say you have a medical excuse, you absolutely have to go with that friend. The rule is you can't talk to that friend while you're there. Otherwise, just go watch a movie together. That's not networking. Remember, it's about reaching out. So we've talked about cleaning up your address book. We've talked about the different kinds of roles usually associated with people in your organization, but not completely. Now let's think about these functions. This is important because presumably you've identified why you're strategically networking, where you want to go, who you've identified who is really important in your current network. Now this is starting to project outside your network. This is going to that cocktail party. What are you looking for? A sage is someone who is very wise and who will also could be your champion. Different from an advocate because they don't know you right now. For example, let's say Dina wants to organize another conference. She's going to need someone who knows all about conferences and someone who's going to say, oh, wow, you're interested in a conference. You know, Dina organizes amazing conferences. Or she's working in Cisco. Or she's starting up a company in education. And I have heard of what she does. And it is so incredible. I recommend it to you. Those are the wise folks who you're going to look for who will speak for you. Industry expert is not someone who's going to speak for you. That's your go-to person. Let's say you have a company, a mobile app, and you really need to know all about how WhatsApp got started. This is someone maybe who you think of as a goddess, someone who you've seen speak at the Mobile World Congress. This is the person that you're going to reach out to and say, you know, I've got this great mobile app. I'm at 71 and a half people. Okay, we're not all white men, so that makes us different from WhatsApp. But I'm really looking for a partner, a strategic partner in this industry. Who do you think's open to it? That's your industry expert. The tech guru and the brand or marketing visionary are similar. One's going to be helpful in the technology space. One's going to tell you whether you should be building on Ruby or building on Python. What's the, how important is open source in your space? The marketer brand visionary is going to be the one who's going to talk to you about this is where your market is going. 6 months from now, what is that market going to look like? What are going to be the big brands in driverless cars? Why do I care about Google in my space? These are the people who you will see who are speaking at big conferences, who are names, who are quoted regularly in the press, and they may be important to you in your network. Okay, you're probably thinking she's really lost her mind. That coffee is way too strong that she's drinking out there. How am I ever going to get to those people? How are they ever going to know who I am? That's what strategic networking is about. It's finding the synapses, finding the connections so that gradually, you are getting closer to those people. There is a great story in the book I mentioned earlier by Reid Hoffman and Chris Ye about networking intelligence, where a company really wanted to reach out to a brand guru. Let's give that person a name. Let's say they really wanted to reach out to Guy Kawasaki to recommend what they were doing in the consumer space. And so they talked to all of their 50 employees and they pooled together all of their Twitter networks and they figured out who amongst the employees was closest to someone who was closest to someone who could get to Guy Kawasaki. And that's how they got to him. So those are your brand and market visionaries, your industry experts who are going to help you see and understand the dynamics of your industry. And they're presumably very senior, so they're connected to people you aren't connected to. And Mommy Warbucks is the person who's going to open the doors to money. All right. I know there aren't a lot of Mommy Warbucks out there. There are some. And as you're thinking about it, let's not forget the Old Girl Network. Let's move on to slide 11. We've talked a lot about who. We've talked about your cleanup. I've probably talked way too much for the taste of some about rowing and synchronicity. And for some of you, yeah, it's really important paying it forward. Let's not forget that networking is a circle. So what goes out comes back. Now, where are you going to look? It's funny because we often think it's so much easier and we'll find so many people in places where we've never been, where they're new people, where we know no one, and we're not really connected. Whereas if we sit back and we analyze everything that we know and everyone that we know, we'll find interesting affinity groups where the relationships will just be 1 degree of separation. So if some of you out there have looked for a job or you're looking for a job and you see a job is available at Yahoo or you see a job available at Procter and Gamble, how can you get to those people? How can you find someone whose name you can mention? Usually, in today's network world, we'll reach out first to LinkedIn. Often, we only use a small part of the power of LinkedIn. Let's look now at these groups and then think about it in a different way. Let's think about it proactively. How about your affinity groups? The things you like, women's groups, alumni groups. It's funny when we look back, we forget about our alumni groups. Tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people went to your high school, your college, your university, people who came from your hometown, people of shared backgrounds or cultures, people at your synagogue, people at your church, people who are Girl Scouts or leaders who share the same culture. One of my best networking groups where I met some of my best friends for life were when I lived 20 years in Paris and I joined a group that had the absolute worst name for any association I've ever heard. So talk about anti-branding. It was the Association of American Women. Yes, I know, married to Europeans. Can you imagine? I'm only confessing this to you because I consider you to be my good virtual friends and part of my network. But god awful name, amazing group. Because we shared so much. We weren't really Dorothy. I mean, we hadn't blown away from Kansas and our house didn't blow up and we weren't stuck in Paris. with just our dog, and we weren't meeting for the most part scarecrows and lions and lots of witches. But there were many things that were different. Our culture was profoundly different from the French culture. Being able to reach out, to share, to talk about things that were important to us, it was an easy way to communicate and such a closer network than if I had to do the same thing and get the same amount of information and connect to people through anonymous cocktails. In the same way, I became part of the Wharton Alumni Club in Paris. People had shared an experience of living in West Philadelphia. That kind of bonds you if you survive that experience, right? It's also about friends, our children, parents. Just recently, an associate of mine was the mother of one of my daughter's friends. How did that happen? It all happened because we were both driving to 5 a.m. practices for our kids. Those are the affinity groups. As I say, we often think it's so much easier to just look on LinkedIn and see who's a connection, whereas in fact, some of those connections we have ourselves. We may need to go back onto LinkedIn or to go into Twitter or to Facebook to find those connections, to find the emails to connect to those people. But we have many more affinity groups than we think. Power markets, those are the ones where we're looking at organizational mentors, we're looking at models, we're looking at movers and shakers. That goes back to the industry experts and the sages. Knowledge and functionality. So those are individuals and groups that are in our professional sphere of influence. And it also, if you're working in a company, is around your suppliers. So if you have a small company, maybe your printer could help. What about your lawyers? What about your ad agencies? What about raw material labs? What about a marketing association? What about the Association of Girls for Coding or Women 2.0? We so often forget that we have so many tools close to us, people whose door is already halfway open. As you think about your network and you're building your network, you've decided on where you want to go. Now think about, oh, that's right, I have a religious group. I have a book club that meets on Saturdays. And I think this woman told me that she worked for a competitor. Maybe she could help me as I'm thinking about what I want to do next. Because I'd like to stay in the industry. I don't want to stay in the industry. You should be outlining all of these as you're thinking about your short and your long-term goals and why you want to do strategic networking. Or maybe you just want to practice because it's like a sport, right? And the last one is the one that you can't control, and it's usually the one when you're really tired and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you've committed to go to an event and you go, oh, am I really going to go? I'm too tired. The dog needs to go out. Maybe the dog doesn't really need to go out, but I think the dog needs to go out. And then you say to yourself, your strategic networking voice says, no, I will go forth into the wilderness. Amazing things happen when you least expect it, when you're thinking out of the box, when you're open, and when you're listening. Because remember what I said before about strategic networking. It's not broadcasting. It's about listening. So those are the opportunities that happened when you least expect it, in the places that you didn't want to go. Let's go on to slide 12. And we've got just a few more slides. So afterward, I'm going to try to follow up and answer a few questions. I say try because I could use like tech gurus in my blood. Let's summarize. Here are the 7 steps to success. You have to build it before you need it. This is what I mentioned at the very beginning, where you want to go. How are you going to make a goal if you don't know where the goal line is? How are you going to cross the finish line if you're not in the race? Build it before you need it, so build it now. Take the time to do it. Don't assume that as soon as we hang up, you're all set and all ready and charged up. First of all, you have to listen to the other screencasts. We agree. But this is serious business. It can be fun. It can be fun whether you like dealing with people or you don't like dealing with people because it's a challenge. You're building your database, you're building your network, you're reaching out, and it's amazing what you're going to accomplish. So take the time and take control. This isn't all random. It's not because I just talked to you about the free radical factor that you have to assume that God is going to shine on you from the heavens and you're going to have a halo over your head. Everyone will recognize you as an angel and it will happen by itself. It won't. Take control, maximizing impact. Choose the right situations. Craft your message. Know where you're going and ask for the max. The sky's the limit. Remember, if you shoot for the moon, you miss, you'll still hit something. I emphasize that because while I'm not keen on saying women are different and women are this and women are that, I have noticed that we do tend to ask for what we think we can achieve as opposed to asking for what we want, as opposed to dreaming, allowing ourselves to dream and moving forward. It's okay if we don't get it, but we'll get something and we might get a lot more than we ever expected. The difference between just hanging out with buddies and collecting business cards and strategic networking is that you're going to measure yourself. This is the keep track. Follow up. Remember what I said before about business cards? If you haven't used them for 10 days, they get vertically filed in the garbage. 48 hours, follow up. Write on the card. Why did I care about that person? How am I going to remember that person? Did I use it? Did she follow up? It's perfectly fair in this highly distracted world to write people twice. You write them once, you don't hear back. The second time you say, maybe you didn't get my email. Sometimes, if they really insisted and said they were going to help, you can write them a third time. But keep track. Absolutely keep track as you go forward. And make sure you keep cleaning up. For those of you who really like to play with databases, think about those roles and those functions that I talked about. Where do people fit in? Hopefully you're chatting and communicating as I'm talking, but also concentrating and taking notes. Have you already met a few people online who could be a mentor, an advocate, a sponsor? Would they give you money? Are they in the Mommy Warbucks category? Where do they feel like they're a tech guru? They could help you with a hard copy. That's keeping track. And then feedback. Saying thank you, communicating results, and paying it forward. So in conclusion, this is my last slide. I've bored you with one more slide about rowers. You'll see that you have to row together. This is our synchronicity. You got to do it together, and you have to do it over and over and over. Your network is your network for life. It's interconnected. Your success is going to be our success, and our success will be your success. Think about how you can build that network, and think about how you're going to do it, and just do it. You can't fail. All you can do is make a mistake, learn from your mistake, and move forward. So with that, those are the ends, and that's the end of my slides. I hope this has been helpful for you. And I'd like to take, let's say, just 30 seconds, which will feel like a long time online. Think about questions, and think about something that you'd like to accomplish. Maybe the group that's online, including myself and including Dina, maybe we can help you. Or should we get some ideas coming up? Hey,
Does anyone have any questions for Susan?
Thank you, everyone.
This is a huge opportunity. We have women in technology from around the world here at this session. If there's something that you're looking for, a connection, some advice, this is a great opportunity to connect with other women in your sphere that can offer advice, support, and connections to other people who can help you get to where it is you want to go. So if you don't want to talk about that right now, that's absolutely fine. I also hope that you will join our Global Tech Women Facebook group, which I put the link up there on the chat window. We have nearly 4,000 women there from pretty much every country. So it would be great if you're not ready to talk about it right now, that you'll join our group, and we're here for you. We're here to talk about what's going on in the world of women in technology, and also to support you in your goals. So I hope you will take advantage of that as well. So this is a very quiet group. This is it. They're thinking, oh, I'm not going to be first. That's why I came online. I love that saying. I love that saying that you said, you have to shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you hit something. I think I tweeted that a minute ago. I think it's really important to take that risk, to take that leap. Oftentimes, many of us in technology, we're introverts. I'm an introvert, but I purposely put myself out there because I know it's important for me to connect to other people. And also, I feel really good when I connect people with each other. So I put myself out there and scare myself every day because I know it's something I really want to do. So we have sorry.
That's funny that you say that, Dina, because I gave this talk about 10 days ago at a group of women entrepreneurs. And in the group, there were twins, identical twins. And at the end of the talk, and they were working in the same company, they built the company together. And they said, "Oh my God, does this mean we actually have to go to events without each other?" And I said, "Yeah, because this is really complicated." They were identical twins.
Yes.
So I see there's one question up here. Advice on how to go with networking for a specific aim. Ah, yes, icebreakers. This is a very good
I think you
question.
can just talk.
So
I think we can all hear you.
type as well. All right. So this is a great question on the icebreakers. So part of the icebreakers is when you go to a research conference, you want to go and look at all the speakers. And then, of course, the really scary part is if you have to speak to the big speakers. So what you want to do is look at the attendees. And you want to think about what you want. So if you go around and say, "I want an internship," not going to work so well. Are there groups at that conference or individuals that you can identify? Remember, we talked about affinity groups. Anybody from your school, anybody from your town. The first icebreaker is what I said about listening. It's not broadcasting. So go up to people. Terrifying. I know. Absolutely terrifying to go up to people who you don't know, you've never met before. But you can have all kinds of conversations with them. Think about the news. Did they, of course, in the US, you would have to talk about sports. But in other places, you could talk about politics. The rule in politics is you can't talk about what you feel, right? Because you could scare people. But you can go up to people and ask them if they're drinking coffee, if they like that coffee, what kind of coffee they drink, where are they from, what kind of research they're doing. It is so much easier when you show interest in somebody else than it is when you start by broadcasting about yourself. So that would be my advice. The other pieces I say is think of it as homework. Everything you can find out about the people who are going to that research conference, anyone you could connect to, anyone who's been to your school, or the same type of research, you might know somebody you know. Those are the kinds of icebreakers that you can use. You can also use fun and silly icebreakers about people's clothes or what they're wearing, how they speak, interested in, what was on the headlines of the newspaper. That's important. When your goal is to find an internship at a research conference, you have a parallel track, and that is write down and look at everything you know, companies you're interested in before you show up. Anyone you can identify at those companies, going to those booths, collecting cards, and following up with those people so that you know more about the companies and their programs and internships they offer than maybe some of them themselves do. And you know who you know at those companies. So let's say at the research conference, let's say Cisco is there, and I saw somebody from Cisco is online. So if as you're looking at our chat today, and if Cisco is in your target, reach out to that person. This is a good time. Think about what I said before about the group of getting closer and closer to Guy Kawasaki through Twitter. Use all your networks that are now cleaned up to see if you can identify 2 or 3 people in each of the companies. Is that helpful?
I have one suggestion as well for that. I used to run a really large conference for women in computing, both in here and in India. And there were often students looking for internships. And the best way, I think, to get your foot in the door is to work with the conference organizers. Volunteer to review papers, volunteer to help with scholarship recipients. Get to know the conference organizers because they know the sponsors and who are often the Cisco's, HPs, the IBMs, the big companies that you're looking to get internships with. And they'll help introduce you to the people who are making those kinds of decisions. So it's kind of a circle, like Susan said earlier, you have to give in to get back. So if you volunteer to help with the organization of a research event, then you will be on the tip of a person's tongue, the organizer's tongue, when it comes to recommending people for potential internships.
That's great advice, Dina. And the other thing is to look for and see if there are any ex-interns who are at the conference or who you can talk to, because they will be much more open to talking to
Good
you
idea.
than maybe the president or CEO of those large companies. Any other thoughts while we're
Some it's the middle of the night. Well, I think this was a great talk. I think we have a lot to think about. I have a stack of business cards that I'm just going to throw away right now and start over. You, you've given me permission. It's great.
Radical.
All right, everyone. Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, this was a great talk. I hope that you all have something to take away from this. We would love your feedback. Feel free to email me at deanna@globaltechwomen.com. This session, this link above here on the URL is going to be available as a recording. It should be available in less than 30 minutes. So feel free. If you missed part of it or you want to watch it again, I know I will be watching it again to make sure I get all of those great nuggets of information about my own networking. And you can share this with your friends and colleagues as well. So I hope that you will take advantage of that. And I hope that you will attend the other 38 sessions that we have going on at Voices this week and let your friends know about it so that they can participate as well. So thank you all for attending. Susan, thank you so much for this great work. And we are very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Everyone. Take care.
All right, everybody. See you at the next session. Bye.
Thanks.